Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of D.E.I. Deathwatch, the show that chronicles the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm your host, Scribelight. Welcome to the wonderful world of Monday. Fun Day Monday. Hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Monday afternoon. We'll get into the stories presently, but first, who's joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon? Scrolling up a bit here, scrolling. Officer Buck Tudd Russell. Good afternoon. Hopefully I'll be able to catch this one, but 5 a.m. 5 a.m.? What part of the world are you in, 5 a.m.? Boy, oh boy, what's this do? No, I don't want to do that. I just popped out the screen. I didn't know what that did. I did a thing. I clicked on a button. I didn't know what that did. Let's see. Snortopoopas Cuber. Good afternoon. Juliet, thank you so much. Good evening, Scribelight in chat. Good evening, Juliet. Hope you're doing well. And hope you enjoy the show. Thank you so much. Miranda Stone is here. Guys, I don't know if you know about Miranda Stone, but she's a sleepy one. Killer Turnus, good afternoon. Oh, wow, I thought this was supposed to be earlier. Well, you thought wrong. 12:30 is 12:30. Old guy, gamer, crap. Do I watch Scribe, Omegon, or Alex? I don't know. Decisions. You could, sort of do some bar hopping stuff and move between us, the three of us. I guess. Or you could dedicate yourself to one day and then watch the replay on the other the next and so on. It all depends. It's all here waiting for you when you're ready for it. Morgan King, good afternoon. Walter Tomaszewski, thank you so much. Scribe, OT. OT? Oh, off topic. If, as I suspect, we are entering a new phase of DIY entertainment due to technological advances, which effect will such have on society? Well, if people can generate their own entertainment through AI or... it's already kind of happening, I think, after a fashion. And I've talked about this many times before on Midnight's Edge and elsewise. As we have more and more avenues of entertainment, unifying culturally continuative, if that's even a word, it isn't, but I've just made it up so it is, pop culture becomes harder and harder to find. I can make a reference to something in the 1980s, pop culture-wise, that entire generations will get, right? Because we all had, there were only 4 network channels. You didn't have streaming services. You didn't have social media. You had video stores, movie theaters, televisions, and with very few pipelines of information to come out of those. As time goes on, people will lose that sort of connective tissue. Someone will make reference to something that was really big for them back in, 2017. And there might be 2 or 3 people out there who get the reference, and everybody else will be bewildered. And it'll just alienate people more and sort of compartmentalize experience more so. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a bad thing, ultimately. I think it distances us from shared experiences. And then the only shared experiences that we'll have is tragedy and politics. Because when there's a national tragedy, we all feel it. And when it comes to politics, everybody's got an opinion. But... what was the best episode of some streaming series that lasted for 3 seasons for some reason on Netflix that about 20 people saw? No one cares. And no one's going to waste the time to go watch it, to know what it is. So, yes, we're becoming more and more niche in our entertainment. And I think the only way for studios and such to survive that is just to accept everything is niche. So lower your production budgets, hike up your marketing budgets, and just play to the base that the genre it is that you're playing towards will enjoy. Stop trying to make one-size-fits-all things for everybody, because we're far too granular now. Hope you got your money's worth for that one, Walter Tomaszewski. There you go. Who else is here? Blue-Eyed Scream, good afternoon. Vader35, hello. Mike Savage, blarg. Who else is here? Kiro Soldier, hello. Bytor 101. I know that there is a name I would otherwise say attached to that avatar, but I am blanking, so hello, Bytor 101. Carphalos, or Seftus Wolf, I remember that one. Mr. X, good afternoon. Rotten Corpse, hello. Anybody else? Oh my gosh. Abdicatus Diaboli, hello. Spider-Man, hello. K. Roberts, good afternoon. And Corey Suzuki, hello. Oh my gosh. Anybody else? Anybody else? I think that's everybody. Oh, Unfair Ophelia, good afternoon. And Kirsten Scholl over on the X Machine. Guys, I am also simulcasting on X, so if you happen to have an X account and you see the stream over there, please do retweet or re-X or whatever they're calling it these days. I'd appreciate it. So, let's see. I'll get my little banner going. I got my banner going. Got my little chat box thing going. All right, let's get into our top story, guys. If you can believe it, there's more news out of Iowa. Yes, the University of Iowa has had a third hidden camera expose. Now, who is this a video of? This is Dr. Susan Harper, the director of the LGBTQ department at Iowa State University, admits in undercover footage that she's continuing DEI initiatives by finding loopholes in the laws. Oh boy, guys. Subverting the law to push your personal ideology. For fun and profit, I guess. Let's listen in.
So I'm Dr. Sue. I'm the director here. I use she, her pronouns or any pronouns that are offered with respect.
Oh, any pronouns offered with respect. Okay, well, how about lawbreaker? Law/breaker? Does that work too? I don't know. Also, Adam Nixon is here. Even in the absence of Adam Nixon's name, I recognize Adam Nixon. Sabian 187, hello. So there you go. Oh, holy cats. Keeverdam, did you greet me as well? Oh, say my name, say my name. In the rush of things, I may have skipped over it. I apologize. Keeverdam, I apologize. Everyone, hello, Keeverdam. Also, Keeverdam provided the link at the top of the chat box, guys, to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society donation page. Please take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so. And even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you for that ahead of time. I think I might have gotten caught up in answering Walter Tomaszewski's super chat. And then when I got back to the chat, I got skipped it. So I apologize, Keeverdam. It was not intentional. So thank you so much for the donation. Was not necessary, but I appreciate it. And yeah, guys, and just to remind, as far as Leukemia Lymphoma Society, that is a specific place in my heart right now, not only for friends of mine who have passed away from leukemia in the distant past, but also now that my father has been diagnosed. I will give a quick update. I called my mother and my father yesterday, and my father is doing a lot better. We had a very scary/shaky period of time last week that we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be, but fortunately, things turned around, and he was talking about taking walks and going on his bike and all types of stuff the other day. So good news all around. It's always going to be a day-by-day thing, because really leukemia is just some angle of gradual decline over time, but we are out of the proverbial woods on the most recent crisis, and I appreciate everybody's patience while I was away for a few days. So thank you for that thank you for that ahead of time. Thank you, Keeverdam. Back to the video of Dr. Sue. Oh, this is from Accuracy in Media, so sourcing there. At Iowa State University, DEI hasn't ended. It's just gone underground. As it has been in most places that have said they've gotten rid of their DEI policies, it's just a shell game. This is not about inclusion. This is about defiance. Oh my gosh, it's so dramatic in Hollywood. Meet Dr. Susan Harper, director of the LGBT department at Iowa State University. She is worried about the future of the center, but is determined to keep DEI efforts alive no matter what it takes. Lots of dramatic music here. I gotta pause occasionally for, YouTube purposes.
Ames Pride is our community org.
Okay.
And they are doing a number of things to ensure that our students stay supported should our center be closed.
Love that.
We are hoping to avoid that, but the creep of what we are not allowed to do is getting...
Okay.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
The creep of what we're not allowed to do. So again, we're not allowed to do this, but we're totally doing this. So yeah, that's how it is in many places. 1 second here. So let's see. Oh, sorry. In 2024, Iowa enacted a law, Chapter 261J, banning public universities from establishing, funding, or assigning employees to diversity, equity, and inclusion offices effective July 1st, 2025. I've talked at length about why I think using those specific words to describe what is prohibited causes a whole bunch of issues and petulant compliance and all types of stuff, but it is what it is. Okay, I read it. We can keep going. I didn't edit this, by the way, so if there's long pauses to let people read the text, that's just the way it is.
Employees getting sort of involved with the employee network.
Okay.
We often look for people to volunteer in the center because we have sort of an interesting thing where there's programming where if I plan it, we can't do it. But if the student orgs plan it, we can do it.
Okay.
Oh, right. So if I just have my minions do it over here, it's not officially being planned.
Okay. So it sounds like y'all are able to still kind of do some of like the diversity and inclusion work as long as students are gearing.
Right, as long as students are heading it up.
Right, I'm hiding behind the students to do my ideological agenda. Gosh, what a unique concept. Dr. Harper admits the name Office of Multicultural Student Affairs won't survive the law, and that DEI work is being passed quietly to sympathetic staff. No job title required. Can we just skip to the part where she starts talking? Because, I don't need to hear all the dramatic music and things, and I've read the text.
I think going to be some positions open.
Okay.
In our, right now it's the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs. That name won't last.
Yeah.
But there's some work down there, I think. And what is really actually helpful?
What is really actually helpful, as I pause for the sake of transformative work. By the way, guys, go check out Accuracy in Media for more information on this. I am not taking credit for their work.
Is when there are employees who are like advisors in the engineering college,
Yeah.
or whatever, that they are out there and it may not be your job description to be doing the work, but you're doing the work by supporting students.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, it's just my personal time promoting a ideology of discrimination and, leveling people on the basis of their race or their gender or their orientation, and making sure that people get preferential treatment in how I grade them or what opportunities I provide them or who I tell certain things to, so on. Yeah, no, it's I don't have to have a job title to, violate the law. Next, Dr. Harper describes the balancing act, finding loopholes and carefully keeping DEI efforts alive under legal pressure. Oh my gosh, how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we continue to break the law?
We are finding the loopholes in the laws, but I'm careful about saying that because there are people I know, like they went into Texas and were like, oh, we're just going to do what we're going to do. We are finding ways to be in compliance with the law and still do the work that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of what California did after affirmative action was outlawed there in 1996. Talked about this before, but I'll just briefly. Of all the states, it's very surprising, still is, that California outlawed affirmative action in colleges and university admissions back in 1996. So statewide, no colleges could practice affirmative action. And yet, all the colleges, or at least most of the liberal colleges, did everything they possibly could to still try to meet those quotas or to try to still provide opportunities specifically to students based on their skin color or their gender or their orientation and so on without technically breaking the law. So they'd go for recruitment drives in certain zip codes or amongst certain community groups or areas where they weren't technically just giving opportunities to people based on what they looked like. But, if we only tell certain segments of the population about these opportunities and not so much the other ones, then, on balance, more likely than not, we'll get more of the kinds of people we like to see, and so on and so on. So, yeah, and this is what I was pretty sure a lot of places were going to end up doing after affirmative action was outlawed nationwide by the Supreme Court back in 2023 and the knock-on effect to DEI. It's just going to be company after company and organization after organization looking for ways to technically comply with the law, at least on the outside. This is why, as I say nearly every show, we need serious consequences to befall a serious offender. A message needs to be sent. Oh, sorry. Dr. Harper reflects on what went wrong in Texas, where DEI programs were rebranded, not changed, and people lost their jobs. Yeah, where the shell game didn't work. What does Dr. Harper think about that? As I skip forward again, because we're still stuck on the text. Pardon me, guys. 1 second. There we go.
Well, we have had to sort of shift some of our programming. Like, the work goes on. And, I think that the one thing that we really learned from Texas is that Texas tried to protect their programming by just changing the name and not doing anything different.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out for them, so you're just moving the shells a little further away from yourself and hiding behind students and having people be just sort of like sleeper agents for the agenda.
And getting caught doing that. And that made things so much worse there.
Yeah, man, getting caught breaking the law, it does suck. I boy, oh boy. Oh wait, you're on camera.
Yeah.
And most of my colleagues lost their jobs there. Because their anti-DEI law didn't say they had to place the employees into their jobs. It just said they had to provide them with letters of recommendation. So they just kind of fired everyone.
Oh no. What comes next isn't regret. It's strategy, defiance, and a battle plan. Oh boy, yes, battle. Get ready for the battle, guys. Here we go. What's the battle plan?
I'm not a toxic positive person, but
I'm not a toxic positive person.
I am, like, if they're gonna light the hoops on fire, like, let's take the game to them.
I would love to see our speaker jump through the hoops on fire. If they're gonna light the hoops on fire, let's take the game to them. Oh boy. Boy, can you imagine? DEI didn't die, it adapted. Take action right now at DEIinIowa.com. Well, there you go, guys. That is the latest from the wonderful world of Iowa. I don't know if I got the... I might have gotten the school logo wrong on my thumbnail. I thought it was another University of Iowa. Is the University of Iowa, Iowa State... Are they both... They're not the same thing, right? I might have to update my thumbnail. That might be my bad. But anyway. So yeah, Iowa's got a problem. A DEI problem. And all they're going to do, unless or until they actually experience serious consequences for it, is hide the ball. And again, this is the same thing being practiced over and over and over and over again in organizations and academic institutions across the country who are trying to still keep the home fires burning, just changing the label on the pail a little bit. So keep an eye out for that in your own community, if you can. Simon Willikins. The creep of what you're allowed to do. Is it a frail old man who speaks in a gravelly voice and shakes his finger in disapproval while exclaiming, "No, it is forbidden"? We can only hope. K. Roberts. Lawless lands chase away civilization. Eventually, yeah. And Adam Nixon. What a shell game going on. Yeah, it's the most basic and childish shell game, and the most transparent. And, of course, when you have zealots trying to play a shell game, they're going to talk about it. As we've seen now in, this is what, the third undercover video of some school official just, absolutely blabbing about how excited they are to subvert the law and keep pushing something they were told to stop doing. Every one of these people needs to be, at the very least, censured, but preferably fired from their positions. Not reassigned to a different department, just fired. They have said in no uncertain terms that they are willing to violate the law and subvert the will of the people in order to push their personal agenda onto students, of all things. So, there you go. Let's see. Do they call it Thailand shave now? Oh, yeah, that's a very old joke, like older than me. I just put it up there because reasons. I'm sure there are some elders in the chat who might get it. Or not. Or maybe it's just something that my dad thought was funny. And that I thought was funny because my dad thought it was funny. Anyway, let's talk about the top story. Oh, I love this story. And I haven't seen it talked about anywhere else. That's not to say that it hasn't been, but I saw this and I was like, oh, that's just beautiful. Quiet revolt against DEI led by Black and Hispanic Americans. What's this you say? What say you? Black and Hispanic Americans are more likely than their white counterparts. Let me repeat that. Black and Hispanic Americans are more likely than their white counterparts, lowercase w over here, by the way, to believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts can increase discrimination. Again, just because it blows my mind. Black and Hispanic Americans are more likely than their white counterparts to believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts can increase discrimination, according to a new Associated Press NORC poll. About 4 in 10 Black adults and about 1/3 of Hispanics say that DEI increases unintended discrimination against their respective groups compared to 1/4 of white adults. Okay, well, you're right for the wrong reasons. It's not intended. It's intended discrimination for your respective demographics, not groups. But hey, if you're against DEI, then we're all part of the same team. However you decide to assess it, I suppose. These numbers come as universities face growing public and legal scrutiny over DEI-driven hiring and admissions. Universities, don't leave out everybody else. Universities. George Mason University is scrambling to reverse its DEI hiring policies after a John Saylor expose accused President Gregory Washington of civil rights violations. Colin Wright, an evolutionary biologist, is suing Cornell University for allegedly discriminating against him to recruit a quote-unquote diversity hire, and Columbia University recently agreed to a $200 million settlement with the federal government, which is just money that we'll end up giving back to them because they'll get their federal funding back, which is stupid punishment, after allegedly violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Yeah. Democrats have framed these developments as regressive and racist. Well, I mean, they're regressive in the sense that we're trying to take ourselves back to the notions of a 1964 type dismissal of outright discrimination in colleges, universities, and businesses, if that's what you mean. But anyway, the new poll shows that a plurality of Black and Hispanic Americans, you forgot to capitalize B in Black. Yahoo News, I mean, you lowercase the white, and now you've lowercase the Black. Black and Hispanic Americans aren't buying that characterization. For many Black and Hispanic Americans, the fight against DEI isn't about resisting progress. It isn't. It's about resisting regression. It's about preserving dignity. The left has marked DEI as redress for historical wrongs. That's what they like to tell themselves. But for young Black Americans like me, like you, okay, I guess the author, Daniel Idfresne. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But for young Black Americans like me, the author, the unspoken message is clear and condescending. We cannot succeed without special treatment. Yes, there you go. Which is exactly what affirmative action was, functionally speaking, after about 20 years of it being implemented, and so on. I experienced this tension firsthand at Brookland Technical High School, one of New York City's 8 premier public high schools. Brooklyn Tech students must perform well on the specialized high schools admissions test to attend. These schools are elite, a bastion of meritocracy, situated in a city that embodies American exceptionalism. My Brooklyn Tech experience was culturally enriching. Students came from different backgrounds: Chinese, Bengali, Russian, and more. I bonded with other students over our unique experiences as first-generation Americans. Okay, our families spoke different languages, but we valued the same things: tenacity, discipline, and education. Yet the New York Times recently dismissed these schools as, quote, symbols of segregation, unquote. Black and Hispanic students underperformed on the SHSAT, respectively receiving 3% and 7% of acceptance letters to those elite schools. Leftists cite the SHSATs as inequitable racial outcomes as a reason to eliminate it. Okay, inequitable racial outcomes. Okay, there are disparities. That does not mean inequity. Let's see where author goes with this. Former Mayor Bill de Blasio sought to replace the test with a system that admitted the top 7% of students from each middle school, a misguided attempt to bolster equity while concealing the academic decline of public schools. Mayoral frontrunner and self-proclaimed Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani has called for abolishing the SHSAT in the past. Yes, the testing is racist, guys. It's not a reflection of just, demographic split. Obviously, these racial disparities in outcomes are evidence of racism, not just the outcomes that they are. Shame on the Gray Lady for misleading its readers. Specialized high schools like Brooklyn Tech are majority Asian, not white. And as for these schools' alleged racism, renowned economist Thomas Sowell puts it plainly in Discrimination and Disparities. Quote, the assumption that statistical disparities in outcomes imply discrimination is a fallacy that ignores the many variables that influence outcomes, including behavior, culture, and choices, unquote. Put much more succinctly than what I was saying a minute ago, so I defer to Dr. Sowell. I secured a spot in the prestigious high school with the help of DREAM, free SHSAT prep for low-income middle schoolers with exceptional grades. The solution to admitting more Black and Hispanic students isn't free handouts in the name of equity. City Hall should expand gifted and talented programs and DREAM for high-achieving students from underserved communities. Albany must raise the charter school cap to provide alternatives for Black and Hispanic parents. The reductive discourse surrounding NYC's merit schools demographics reveals something deeper. DEI proponents only want to uplift Black students if it fits into their Marxist paradigm. In their framework, racial identity must come before individuality. Indeed, yes, race trumps anything else about you. It's not about who you are, it's about what you are. And as the Associated Press NORC poll shows, if you don't perform your assigned grievance, white progressives will step in to perform it for you. That's why young Black Americans like me are leading the exodus from the Democratic Party. Pew data shows that 28% of Black Republicans are ages 18 through 29, nearly twice the share of Black Democrats in that age range. We're not abandoning progress. There should be an apostrophe here. It's we're not. It's we're not, or preferably we are not. I've been making an effort in my formalized writing of late to avoid contractions as much as possible, sort of like a reluctant pregnant woman. So yeah. Anyway, we're not abandoning progress. We're rejecting policies that suggest we can't compete with our fellow Americans. That we can't. Okay, apparently apostrophes are just eliminated from the text of this article for some reason. So maybe it's not the author's fault. Anyway, we're rejecting policies that suggest we can't compete with our fellow Americans and a framework that ties our worth to grievance. We want what every American deserves, the freedom and dignity of self-determination grounded in merit and the content of our character. I am glad to read that. I hope you're glad to have heard it. Yes, we need more perspectives like that. And pushing the idea that DEI is not some salve for historical wrongs. It is condescension, it is discrimination, and it is belittling of people. On both sides. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's like, oh, well, you're not the right color for this job. Just think about that notion for a second. You're not the right color for this job. That person there is the right color for this job. Sounds a little, I don't know, Southern United States 1950s Jim Crow kind of thinking, doesn't it? Scara, 4149. Or, if I've forgotten your usual handle, I apologize, but YouTube has taken them away once again, so hello. Anybody else I missed along the way? JB, hello. I didn't already say hello. And I think that's everybody so far. If I missed you, do let me know. But yeah, so good news on that front. Glad to hear that maybe, just maybe, the people that DEI is supposed to be quote-unquote serving are starting to realize that, like affirmative action before it, or concurrent to it, DEI is just pity. It's saying that what you are is a handicap. And we're going to help you because obviously you need help because you are inherently handicapped. Because of your race, because of your gender, because of your orientation. You can't make it in the world on your own, so we will nanny you into a position you might not be ready for, or at the expense of someone else who's may be more qualified. But to hell with them, they're the wrong color. Yeah, if you think about it for a minute or three, it kind of sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? Anyway, let's talk about sororities. You guys like talking about sororities? I don't know. But we have an article here from Her Campus. How I'm navigating rush season as my sorority's DEI chair. I guess I should have thought about it. Yeah, so, sororities and fraternities, they have DEI departments of their own. So how does one navigate rush season as a sorority DEI chair? This is by Grace Kahn. I often tell people that one of the best decisions I made in college was joining my sorority. My freshman year, I felt incredibly out of place on campus, to the point where I was considering transferring, and I really just wanted a community I felt I belonged in. The idea of belonging means a lot to me as a mixed-race woman. For as long as I can remember, I've been too white for some friends and not white enough for others. Well, Grace, I have some news for you. Whatever quote-unquote friends there were who thought of you as either too white or not white enough, those were racists and not worthy of being your friends in the first place. But I digress. I was hoping to find a community that would embrace all of who I am. No, you're not talking about who. Just as we mentioned in the last article, you're talking about what. Your race is not who you are. Your race does not define the kind of person you are. If you believe that to be so, then you may be a racist. I don't know. Let's find out. I was hoping to find a community that would embrace all of who I am during the time in my life when I felt most alone, and in my sorority, I did. Now, almost a year after making the decision to go through recruitment, I am very proud to not only be a part of a sisterhood, but also help ensure everyone in my org feels like they belong too, through my role as my chapter's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Chair. Oh my gosh. And you wanted to get away from the mindset that thought of people as either too white or not white enough, and so you became a DEI chair. I have bad news for you, Grace. You went in the decidedly wrong direction. It is a very unique time to be an official advocate for DEI in the collegiate space, or any space for that matter. In the past decade, DEI was finally becoming a priority within Greek life, with panhellenic sororities visibly working towards creating a more inclusive and equitable environment for all members and potential members. Yes, everyone, do recall, with much glittering notions, the equitable and fair-minded times of ancient Greek society. This was obviously exciting for me. In fact, my sorority's commitment to their inclusion policy was a selling point when I was explaining to my parents why I wanted to join. But now, attitudes towards DEI on a national scale have once again shifted, and inclusion has become one of the most politicized topics on college campuses. I disagree. I think inclusion has been a politicized topic on college campuses the entire time. It has not become one. It is one. Has been one the entire time. But anyway, Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. More proof that today's college kids are idiots. They've been led astray. I would like to think that for the most part, most people, on balance, are good people looking to do good things. Most people want to be the hero of their own story, and in order to be a hero, there has to be a somewhat equitably strong villain. And so if you think, if you've been told, if you've been guided, or another G word you could come up with that might get me in trouble on YouTube, into thinking that DEI is the heroic stance against the evils of racism, I have sympathy. At the same time, you're correct. These are the proto-adults that will be, in some way, shape, or form, running the world in the near future. Hopefully nothing too important. In the time since President Donald Trump took office, the current administration has issued a series of executive orders regarding DEI, including one that has required colleges and universities to scale back and even eliminate their DEI policies, offices, and programs under the threat of losing their federal funding from the Department of Education. Okay, before I continue, just rhetorically speaking, hypothetically speaking, to the author, why? Why would they be under risk of losing their federal funding? Is there any law, any custom, anything that might be legally viable, actionable, and say, half a century old or more that might speak to that? You're a college student. I realize you might not be a law major or something, but let's see. When this was first announced, I honestly wasn't really thinking about my sorority. I was thinking about whether or not I would have to change the way I lived my life. Would it be easier to simply be white passing? Would it be safer to stop advocating for inclusion, something I care deeply about? Would it be easier to simply be white passing? Our author has completely bitten of the full apple, as it were. Okay, I'm just going to leave that there. This is the mindset of our speaker. She thinks that eliminating DEI from colleges means that people who aren't white are now, what, illegal or criminal or will be somehow targeted? Oh boy, where could this go? That's how I began to see how it started to affect Greek life. Okay, the current federal rollbacks don't directly affect the DEI efforts of my chapter, but the threat looms. Members of other groups, namely cultural interest Greek letter organizations, many of which formed because of the Pan-Hellenic organization's history of exclusion of women of color, have expressed concern over the longevity of their chapters due to changes in their schools changing DEI policies. Well, I mean, if you have a sorority that will only allow members on the basis of their skin color, then yeah, that could be a problem. If that's what you're talking about, I'm not quite sure. Cultural interest Greek letter organizations. Cultural interest. Is that just double speak for like racially segregated sororities or fraternities or something? And I'm asking sincerely. I don't know what this is supposed to apply to. Plus, there are all the indirect ways the rollback of DEI initiatives harms Greek life. The truth is, women like me would not have been accepted in my sorority at its inception. It was thanks to DEI efforts that this changed. Okay, again, she's conflating DEI with actual civil rights laws and policies. She thinks DEI is just an extension of civil rights. And even now that we are allowed in these spaces, there are still some who believe we are taking up too much space. I will avoid certain categories of jokes there. I often ask myself how our all-white founders would feel if they knew someone like me had made it through recruitment, never mind initiated. Sometimes I even worry if my sisters, past and present, see me less as a sister and more as a check mark in a box I never asked to be put in, taking up a space that wasn't made for me in the first place, in a leadership role some think is unnecessary. Okay. Well, let me tell you something, Grace. DEI is about tokenization. DEI is about seeing you as not completely white, as somehow thus disabled, and we have to take pity on you. And look, isn't it nice? We have a diverse person in the diversity, equity, and inclusion role in our sorority, a role that effectively does nothing except hold up discrimination as a virtue. You see, Grace, where we want to be is a place where you and everyone around you sees your mixed race situation as functionally irrelevant. And especially you, if you think you have to exist, quote unquote, in a half-white or not half-white world or two. DEI perpetuates that kind of thinking. It puts racial identitarianism at the forefront in most instances, which is poison. No matter how you slice it, racial identitarianism is poison. This is exactly why our chapter, our campus, and our world needs inclusion efforts in the first place. I worry that the elimination, or even just rebranding, hi Iowa, of DEI won't just cause harm to students' belonging, safety, and support on campus, but also that it will validate the voices and beliefs of those who misunderstand the purpose of DEI. Oh, tell me, Grace, oh tell me true, what is the purpose of DEI? Those who think that DEI is merely a pointless numbers game. No, it has a point. It has a point. It is a numbers game, but it also has a point. Or those who think that if a marginalized or unrepresented group is able to make progress, then those with privilege will become disadvantaged. No. Grace. It's really sad. You know. Anyway. With sorority rush season upon us, my concern is that chapters will start to prioritize the discomfort of those who oppose DEI politically over the very real needs and concerns of marginalized members and PNMs. PNMs? Either intentionally or subconsciously, resulting in exclusionary recruitment practices once again becoming the norm. How inclusive we are during recruitment affects how we recruit, who we recruit, and who feels like they belong, and that is why I take my role as DEI chair so seriously during this time of year. Marginalized members. Okay, what constitutes a marginalized member? If Grace sees a girl who is not white, does she consider that person to be marginalized? Does she already and automatically assume that person is at a disadvantage and needs special help? Okay, even though it is a misnomer to use the word bigotry in this statement, it still works poetically, the soft bigotry of low expectations. My role in my chapter during Rush is relatively simple. I work with our VP recruitment to host a chapter-wide work week workshop on inclusion. Sounds productive, using resources provided by our national organization. But to me, standing at the front of the room and talking is just the bare minimum. That's why I'm also hoping to facilitate an open and honest conversation about inclusion with my chapter. We have all experienced feelings of wanting to belong, and I think giving my sisters time to reflect on that will create the opportunity to build real empathy and understanding as we head into Rush. And speaking of rushing, there's a Latino slant. Well, not Rush, but Raid. Maybe there's a Rush. I don't know. Greetings to anyone from the Latino Slant channel, where Polly was talking to Force of Light about the box office and movie stuff and everything just a little while ago. So if you're here from over there, welcome. We're talking about Greek life at a sorority with a DEI official. I understand that members and potential new members of my chapter, my national sorority, and organizations across the country hold all kinds of political beliefs. And we are often advised to avoid discussing them. Oh, but I thought this was about having an honest conversation and that you were big into inclusion. But okay. But I strongly feel that genuine respect and acceptance is a pillar of true belonging, not a political belief. Oh, okay. So then you could maybe see or at least entertain the notions of those who are against DEI and their arguments for it. IMO, or in my opinion, whether or not someone has the right to exist in a space because of who they are is not something we can agree or disagree to agree to disagree on. Okay, again, Grace, your skin color is not a who, it is a what. Your skin color says nothing about who you are. My skin color says nothing about who I am. Right? All of these irrelevant, surface level attributes do not define the person. But you, whether you understand it or not, are continuing and perpetuating that belief in this. That there are those with privilege. And how do you know that someone has privilege? Well, obviously because of their skin color. And then there are those who do not have privilege, those who are marginalized, those who are underserved. How do you know that they're underserved and marginalized? Well, because of their skin color. No other questions are needed to be asked. No other inquiries need to be made. You already know the content and the quality of their lifestyle and their possibilities in life simply by looking at them. There's a word for that, Grace. It's not a word that's a nice word. It's not a nice word to be known as or to promote, whether you know that you are or not, but it is there. At the end of the day, I don't want my chapter to miss out on a PNM. Okay, what is PNM? Was that defined somewhere else in here that I just missed it? Because I don't know. Is that like a pan-Hellenic something or other? Or miss out on a PNM who could have made an incredible sister because we couldn't see past our own prejudices. Grace, read your own copy, would you? Or because she didn't want to continue with recruitment because she felt like she didn't belong. True sisterhood is where inclusion and equity are a priority, diversity and difference is celebrated, and all are welcome unless you're not marginalized enough. It starts with recruitment, and it starts with us. So Grace is majoring in secondary education and English. Well, hey, I'm in English. Well, I have an English degree. I keep calling myself an English major like I'm still in the process of it, but yeah, I have an English degree. So Grace and I are in a similar mindset, or academic mindset, something. Although I never went to a Greek system school, so I don't know what that experience is like. Probably for the best, all things considered. Scrolling up a little bit here. Theater Winch Ginger, I'm late. Hey, everyone. I hope you're not late because you're here and alive. I don't want to refer to you as the late Theater Winch Ginger. That'd be terrible. Let's see. Morgan King, she drank the Kool-Aid. Well, she may have been served nothing else this entire time. See, I've always, over the course of time, I can't say that I've ever actually, at least certainly not on the channel, had an opportunity to talk to someone who is a true believer of DEI directly. It's always been secondhand, rhetorically, and elsewise. I have imagined what it might go like, and I just have a feeling that no matter what I would do in such a conversation to try to understand or challenge their belief system, how it wouldn't inevitably turn contentious and like yucky, because I think I could, I'm not angry at somebody over anything else, but I just have a feeling that if I actually said to them, describe for me a non-diverse candidate for a job, or how do you measure the success of a DEI program, something like that. What are the just like ask them to quantify a lot of these buzzwords and buzz phrases that they use all the time, that it would immediately start breaking down into contention and aggravation. And I don't want to do that. But I read something like this from Grace, and I can't help but have a large measure of sympathy for whatever she's been guided into this entire time, that she's been led to believe, well, race is an identity. Racial identitarianism is how it should be. We should see each other. We should notice race. We should understand race. And I should understand what the quality of someone's life is based on their race and know that obviously they've had hardships like I have, obviously, because of my race or my mixed race or whatever else. And that, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Anyway, I could go on, but that's what this show is for. Advocates Diaboli, Greek organizations as a whole have always come off a little cultish to me. Yeah, I kind of got that notion the first time I saw Revenge of the Nerds. I think that was probably my first exposure to the idea of a Greek culture on campus thing. I thought that's how all colleges operated. I'm glad I didn't end up at one that did, because, yeah, I have a hard time joining teams and going along to getting along with some things, sort of suppressing my own personal beliefs or likes or whatever. So I like operating a little bit more independently than that. JPS, good afternoon, everyone. Latino Slant Raid. One Punch Man. Good afternoon from Latino Slant Raid. Yay, Latino Slant Raid. And, yeah. Let's see what else we got. How about a story from Nashville International Airport? I don't know what a Nashville accent sounds like. I'm sure if I watch some more, TNN back in the day. But anyway, Nashville International Airport drops DEI hiring targets after Trump's order. Oh, hiring targets, huh? That gives me all sorts of Title VII vibes. Woo! Also, if Nashville International Airport is obviously in any way, shape, or form a recipient of federal financial assistance, that also gives me Title VI vibes. Woo! I'm getting vibes all over the place. Nashville International Airport quietly ditched its contracted targets for hiring small, minority, and women-owned businesses earlier this year to comply with federal directives. Oh, so you're having some supplier chain discrimination. Yep, I'm aware of those. The Department of Business Diversity Development, there's a key word in there that tells you that something's up, was restructured into the Department of Small Business Development, dropping a 2-decade-old program to seek partnerships with disadvantaged businesses and crafting new language for solicitations and contracts. Yes, you recall the disadvantaged businesses category, don't you? Yes, this goes back to the story I did, I think now 10 months ago, on the Department of Transportation under Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who at that time, at least as we understood it, spent something like $34 billion on contract money given out to businesses based primarily, if not exclusively, first and foremost, on the race and or gender of the people running the businesses. If you were the wrong race and or gender, you were not qualified to receive certain grant money, certain federal contracts for construction. Well, and this is the thing, if you were a business whose ownership was a certain percentage, over 50% of either a non-white demographic and or a non-male demographic, i.e. women, you were considered a disadvantaged business simply on the basis of what you are. Do we see a pattern developing here? Between the last 3 articles, do we see a pattern developing here? Well, not even a pattern developing, a pattern that's been in place, at least in Nashville, for 20 years. To seek partnerships with disadvantaged businesses and crafting new language for solicitations and contracts. After President Donald Trump's inauguration in January, he began taking steps towards dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives throughout the U.S., from federal agencies and contractors to public and private businesses. He signed the, quote, Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity, unquote, order on January 21st, directing the Federal Aviation Administration, which oversees regulation of airports like BNA, to end all DEI initiatives. Quote, these new federal guidelines require all recipients of federal funding, I'm smelling Title VI, to comply with non-discrimination laws and to avoid any appearance of preferential treatment, unquote, BNA spokesperson Stacey Nickens said. Quote, to remain eligible for federal funding that supports our ongoing and future capital projects, MNAA is aligning with these requirements. Okay. And here's the part here that really chaps my hide, as it were. They've been getting away with illegal discrimination for 20 years. They have been getting away with blatant violations of Title VI for 20 years. Again, let's remind ourselves what Title VI says. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. Nashville International Airport is a recipient of federal financial assistance. And they had a whole program, what was it called again? The Department of Business Diversity Development, which was explicitly giving money away to businesses based on the race and or gender of the ownership of said businesses. And so, as a consequence of that, they should have lost their federal funding 2 decades ago. But this is what happens when you have laws that go unenforced. Anyway, federal agencies felt the blow first when they were ordered to place all DEI staff on administrative leave by the end of the day on January 21st. But for institutions like public universities, federally funded research centers, and airports, the impact took months to trickle down. I don't know why, but okay. Trump threatened federal funding cuts for entities that did not comply. Yeah, and it's not just Trump making an idle threat. It has been part of federal civil rights laws since 1964. But they keep qualifying this as though this was just some Trump idea. Oh, it's just Trump being an authoritarian. A little heated, pardon me. In 2024, B&A received over $29 million in FAA grants alone. Oh, you mean the Federal Aviation Administration. Federal funding. How much money in federal grants did they receive in 2023? 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, actually, again, it's just back to 5. It's only been 20 years. On May 21st, the Metro National Airport Authority Board approved a resolution to get rid of requirements for the number of small minority women-owned businesses who receive solicitations and contracts. So you mean a quota. An illegal race and or gender-based quota in a program and or activity undertaken by this federally funded airport. Okay. Leadership at Nashville International Airport cited Executive Order 14173 and updated grant requirements for the U.S. Department of Transportation and the FAA as the reason for the shift in policies. Yes. Only what Trump has done, not what has been on the books for years. The Tennessee General Assembly also passed its dismantled DEI bill in April, and Governor Bill Lee signed it into law in May. It effectively bans DEI programs across all state and local governments. Most recently, the U.S. Department of Justice backed Trump on the topic, declaring all uses of, quote, diversity, equity, or inclusion, unquote, discriminatory on August 1st. Currently, BNA does business with 500 certified small, minority, and women-owned businesses, according to airport data. That's perfectly fine. I don't care. The question is, were they granted money first and foremost on the basis of the minority and or gender status of the owners as a predicate? If that's so, that's the problem. Those 500 businesses were part of BNA's Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program. Okay, well, that answers my question. Which has operated for the last 20 years to support, quote, historically underutilized, unquote, businesses in the state of Tennessee. That program no longer exists. It shouldn't have existed in the first place, because 1964 is earlier than 2005. Instead, the airport has replaced it with the MNAA Small Business Program, described as a race and gender neutral initiative to create opportunities for local small businesses to participate in airport contracts. Gosh, race neutral business decisions. If only such a thing had been thought of prior to 2025. If only such a thing had been part of federal law. Oh well. Quote, those 500 businesses will be carried over into this new one, and we're going to come up with our new goals and objectives for how this program will ensure cost-effective solutions, contractors that value doing things on time and on budget, and how we move forward, unquote. MNAA President and CEO Doug Crulin, okay, said in the board's meeting on July 16th, quote, I think it will be a big win for our local community as well, so they'll continue to participate, unquote. The MNAA board will take a vote on the new program specifics at its August meeting. How BNA plans to thread the needle with DEI policies. Well, here's I got some. I'll give you some free advice. I shouldn't be giving free advice. I really should be charging for this. I know it's really esoteric stuff. Don't be racist, don't be sexist in your policies. I know it's goofy. There's some literature you might want to look at. I know, I'm a broken record. It's from the 60s. I know it was a weird time of, actual progress and equality and such. But you might want to take a look at it. It's fairly simplistic overall. It's not very complicated to understand. Just, when you're having programs or activities and you're receiving federal financial assistance, or you're making hiring decisions, don't be racist, don't be sexist. I know. Crulin said that the airport board will still be able to maintain a minimum amount of small business participation in airport contracts once all of these changes are made. Well, sure, you still have to contract out work, but on what basis are you issuing these contracts? That's the question. Quote, it's still trying to thread a needle, Crulin said, quote, but you're not allowed to go back and say there's going to be this much minority or this much women participation, unquote. You're correct. You cannot set a racial or gender quota in who you do business with. Correct. What? The fact that you thought that was a good or okay thing to do in the first place, these last 20 years, boggles my mind. But maybe not as much as the fact that you were allowed to do so by outside parties. Contracts that have minority hiring directives and were signed prior to May 21st, 2025, when the Airport Authority Board approved its DEI rollbacks, are still in effect. Any solicitations or contracts after May 21st will not have any participation goals from those groups. You mean illegal quotas. Quote, when we say there are no goals for disadvantaged businesses, it sounds like we're just not going to work on it at all, unquote, MNAA Commissioner Glenda Glover said. Quote, we're just not going to have stated goals. Is Glenda Glover by any relation to Dr. Sue over at Iowa State University? Let me just read that one again. When we say there are no goals for disadvantaged businesses, it sounds like we're just not going to work on it at all. We're just not going to have stated goals. So you're going to, if I'm understanding you, restrict yourselves from publishing any percentile goals on a timeline, illegal quotas, based on race and gender. You're just going to keep them in mind. You're going to continue giving preferential treatment to businesses and contract negotiations based on the race and or gender of the ownership. You're just not going to say so. Hey, you know what? I appreciate your candor. I'll make a note to look up on what the MNAA is doing a year or so from now. DEI changes hit institutions across Tennessee amid political pressure. Yeah, the political pressure of 1960s civil rights laws. The Nashville airport is just one of many business entities in Tennessee working to adapt to the Trump administration's anti-DEI directives. As we know, history started and ended with Trump. The University of Tennessee, Vanderbilt University, and Belmont University have all made changes to their pre-existing DEI programs, ranging across restructuring, renaming, and rewriting mission statements. Still, Republican Tennessee politicians like gubernatorial candidate Senator Marsha Blackburn and State Representative Andy Ogles, Republican of Columbia, said these schools are simply changing the name of DEI initiatives while continuing to implement them. And they would be right. Blackburn and Ogles have called for further investigation into whether the schools have truly removed the programs. Well, this is why something that, of all the things that happened with the Columbia University deal, the least of which being the $200 million fine that they paid back to the federal government that we'll just end up paying back to them once we refund them again, was that they were required to have a monitor. They're required to have an outside monitor to ensure that they stayed in compliance with federal law. I think that should be necessary. I've said it before. DEI needs an IRS. So if you are a college or a university or a business or a 501c3 or anybody else who has had a DEI specifically stated set of policies or programs in the past, and you say you're getting rid of them, you should have to accept a federal monitor, an auditor who comes in and checks. What are you doing? Who's saying what? How are you implementing the rollback of these policies? Who was previously running those policies, and where are they now in the organization? And what are they doing? And what are they saying? That's what I think should happen, because you cannot trust these guys to police themselves. They have proven it over and over again. Metro Nashville Public Schools removed its guidelines to build equity and diversity among students, educators, and its business partners in July, which means that it's been, again, operating in a legal fashion for some untold number of years, and they will receive no particular punishment for it. Even private companies are walking back long-standing commitments to institutional diversity programs. Nissan ditched its DEI trainings for employees and slashed partnerships with organizations, quote, heavily focused on political activism, unquote, like halting its sponsorship of Franklin Pride this year. Jack Daniels and Dollar General also stopped supporting LGBTQ plus pride events this year, among other DEI rollbacks. In a letter to Belmont University officials, Ogles said DEI programs may violate the Civil Rights Act if they, quote, treat students or employees differently on the basis of race or sex. Quote, without swift enforcement of Executive Order 14173, more institutions may be emboldened to adopt the same shell game, undermining the administration's efforts to restore colorblind, merit-based policies in American education. Now, what emboldens them is you guys, the federal government, have not punished anybody in any meaningful way for this. And not just right now, but for the last 15 to 20 years. Title VII and Title VI have been effectively non-laws in the last 2 decades. There's just no two ways about it. If Nashville Airport has been running a 20-year-long program of giving preferential treatment to businesses on the basis of the race or gender of its ownership, and you guys have been asleep at the wheel. You need to mightily and visibly enforce these laws and see that real consequences befall. If you are under Title VI, you lose your federal funding. You do not get it rescinded for a brief period of time. It's not in suspense. You're not made to pay a fine. You lose it. You lose it for a period of at least 2 to 3 years. And in that time, you are on probation. And after that time, you may reapply for your federal funding so long as you can offer a showing that you have complied with federal civil rights laws. And if you want to have a monitor over your shoulder from the federal government in order to make sure that you do so to the satisfaction of the federal government, by all means, request it. But you should lose your federal funding. No ifs, no ands, no buts. It's gone. Cut off immediately. This namby-pamby slap on the wrist stuff is not going to cut it. Harvard University should lose its federal funding. Columbia University should lose its federal funding. It should be terminated. And they will have to solicit to get it back years down the line. Companies that have federal contracts should lose their federal contracts. They have violated Title VI if they have DEI programs. No ifs, no ands, no buts. They lose it. All those billions of dollars of taxpayer money that we are using or being forced to use to prop up companies that operate outside the law should lose it immediately. And you have to prove to the rest of us that you have changed your ways before you get it back. But that kind of hardline decision-making apparently is just absent, even under Trump right now, because I have yet to see anybody really feel the pain. And I'm awaiting. One more story. I'll keep it short because I'm losing my temper, along with my voice. To another place in the southern reaches of the United States. Fort Worth shuts down DEI program. Mayor cites financial and legal reasons. Oh, well, how long has Fort Worth been running a DEI program? Fort Worth Mayor Maddie Parker backed the city council's decision to suspend the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion department, citing legal concerns and fiscal responsibility. So basically, civil rights laws that have been around on the books since the 60s, and also probably risks of losing some kind of federal funding, right? The 7-4 vote followed public debate, as previously reported by the Dallas Express. Quote, the city council made the right decision today to continue following federal law and to adhere to U.S. Supreme Court precedent to protect nearly $300 million in multi-year grants for our city, Parker said. Fort Worth should lose all of its federal funding. You don't get to change horses this late in the game and not receive any repercussions, in my book anyway. She said the decision was not only legally necessary, but also essential to preserving critical city services. Yes, because you are completely dependent on the federal trough. Parker said that failing to comply with federal guidelines, even though obviously you hadn't failed to comply with federal guidelines up to this point somehow, could have jeopardized funding for key services, including the fire department, emergency management systems, and Department of Transportation projects. She added that Fort Worth would continue to support local businesses through a small business strategy in partnership with local chambers of commerce. Oh, any particular local small businesses that you're thinking about? Quote, my priorities as we work through this the new changes are to ensure Fort Worth continues to be one of the best managed cities in the nation while bolstering opportunity for all and fostering an excellent, welcoming work environment for every city employee. Some of Fort Worth's residents expressed support for the decision. Quote, we are Fort Worthians before political party politics. We here in Fort Worth use common sense over this woke stuff. Well, obviously not so recently that you didn't have a DEI department in your city for years. Anyway, good job for those city council members who are considerate of representing our city respectfully. You get my applause. Good job, Mayor Maddie Parker. No more DEI, unquote. Fort Worth resident and community college professor Marshall Hobbs wrote on Facebook. Well, great. Fort Worth, just, they lower one flag and raise another, and never was heard a discouraging word. I'm waiting. I am waiting for that poster child that gets the hammer brought down on them by the federal government for violating these laws all these years. And the more time that goes on where that doesn't happen, and nothing meaningful happens, the more shell games, the more Iowa State universities, the more Harvards, the more Columbias, and changing the labels, contents of the jar remains the same. Anyway. Shio Gorath, thought Scribe was going to go to the Super Troopers route there. Does it look like a cat to you, jumping around all namby-pamby? I know. I try to police myself in my heated language for the sake of this being a family show. I don't know who's listening. There's viewers who might have this on in the background, and there's a small child over there who's just, playing with their toys or something. And I don't want to put weird thoughts into that child's head or like add to their vocabulary in ways that their parents wouldn't approve. Like vocabulary words, like substantive. But anyway, Abdicaz Diabli, the Walmart of car insurance does not inspire confidence. Did I talk about the Walmart of car insurance? Okay. Peter, we're still going to be racist. We're just not going to make it our stated policy anymore. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that little piece of smarmy, smug candor from that Nashville Airport Authority person. It's like, you may think that us getting rid of our racist and sexist small business programs might mean we're not going to be, preferencing businesses based on race and sex anymore. Well, we will be. We just won't be telling you we are. That alone should get some attention from the people who are in authority over that stuff. That alone is a little bit. I don't think you're quite getting the idea here. We're violating the law, and we could lose our federal funding if we continue to violate the law. We've somehow been given a get out of jail free card for the last 20 years. But if that's the attitude you're going to tell the public through the media, you might be the wrong person for this job. That's what I'd say if I were her boss. I'd be like, I think we need to reconsider your position here. That's what I'd say. Also, Keely Chow, hey everybody, what's going on? It ain't what's going on, son. It's what's coming off your face. Now, if you know what movie that's a quote from, you're awesome. And you'll also be able to tell me why the ending to that movie is ridiculous. But that being said, everybody, that's the show D.E.I. Deathwatch for this Monday, August 11th. A couple of things before I wrap up. I forgot to mention, did you know? And by the way, when it comes to knowing things, knowing is a constant source of disappointment. Did you know that YouTube is reconfiguring their algorithm for what counts as a view when it comes to videos and live streams? Yes, simply viewing something no longer really counts anymore, or soon won't. The only way your view will count is if you also engage with the media, and that means at the very least leaving a like and or leaving a comment. So if you haven't already, please do leave a like, just for my own ego and for the algorithm and to please YouTube. And maybe it'll do something good in the long run. Or if you have something else you'd like to say, of course, you can always leave a comment after the show is posted. Also, did you know I have a Discord server? Well, I have a Discord server. Would you like to join the Discord server? Well, you can join the Discord server. You just have to click on the link that's in the chat box right now. Click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word tells me that you are not a bot, have watched the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is stated goals. Just say hello, stated goals, and I'll know that you watch the show. A couple other plug things for those of you that are coming here from Latino Slant. Hello! For those of you that don't know about Latino Slant, check out Latino Slant on YouTube. My friend Polly runs that over there along with his friends and partners, and they take a look at entertainment media and other things from a, if you can believe it, Latino slant. And daisy chain to that also, Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm on the Midnight's Edge in the morning panel on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays when I can make it. I was on the panel this morning. We talked about box office stuff and other things and things and stuff and stuff and things. And so check that out. That's always on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time. Anything else? Oh, yeah, I have a merch store. There's a link in the description if you'd like to take a look at that. If you like a Scribe Light or a TED Excellence coffee mug or a Got It pandemic mask, which was probably the worst idea I ever came up with for a piece of merchandise, but I thought it was funny. You can get those in the link below. What else? Oh, yeah, at the top of the chat box, guys, there's the donation page for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So I want to thank everybody who donated either to myself or to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Appreciate that very much. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. And you should see me next, for sure, on this channel, Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence, where I'll take a look at another off-brand TED Talk for entertainment and enlightenment and all the other good things, along with bingo, because, you know, bingo. Anyway, everybody, I hope you have a good rest of your Monday. I hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope that you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.